Hi. Today we're going to talk about leadership and the urgent need for leaders as calming influences on this crazy world we're living in, this divided country, this country that is so prone to violent acts from all sources. We need to do something about trying to slow this down. I think for many of us, including those of us who lived through the 60s and 70s, we don't quite recognize this country anymore. And I think a lot of it comes down to leadership and leadership communication. There are a few things that I'm thinking about today. One, some of the most enduring leadership research comes from Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. For years, they ask folks, what attributes do you look for in a leader? What makes you want to follow somebody? And there were four attributes that almost always were noted by well over 60% of people. First and foremost, people who are honest, people of integrity, there's a trustworthiness. Two, people who are competent. Three, people who are forward thinking. And four, people who are inspiring. So those seem to be the big four that we look for: people of integrity, competent people, people with vision and forward thinking, and people who are inspiring. I was also thinking about the work Sylvia Ann Hewlett did around executive presidents fairly recently, when she talked about presidents as a combination of how we look, how we act, and how we speak. And a lot of it is really focused on how we act. Is there a certain gravitas to us? Do we have a calmness, a confidence, a steadying force about ourselves, even in the most difficult times? And I think about Fred Rogers and, his famous story of when things would get scary and his mother would say, look for the helpers, because there's always people trying to do the right things. And I think about a video we did earlier around crisis communication and using Johnson and Johnson as an example during the Tylenol scare, where they took responsibility for solving a problem, even though they didn't cause the problem. I mean, there was the Tylenol poisonings in the Chicago area. They pulled all the Tylenol capsules off the shelves in all markets. And when they reintroduced, they had new packaging. So it was strong leadership. I mean, the person who committed those acts could have done it to anybody, but Johnson and Johnson took a firm leadership position. I think right now we're looking for helpers, and we're looking for leaders, because so much of the violence is being bred in the political circles. We're in such a divide, and the social media uh, wars are so staggering. But I think we need leaders to step up and to say things like, we have all helped cause this problem. We can all be part of the solution. We need to commit to that daily. This is what I am going to do to start that. You can laugh and say, yeah, but what leader is going to say it? And I think there are some. I'm not sure. When I think of that big four from the Kouzes and Posner research: trustworthy, competent, forward thinking, and inspiring, I think it's a small set of folks that I think about who meet that criteria. But what we don't want and we don't need are leaders just finger pointing, trying to point blame to the other side. Oh, this is all the radical left, or this is the right wing extremist. No, these are people doing vile acts that need to be dealt with, but the rhetoric, the words that we are using, and I use a collective here, is contributing to this. So I think we all need to look at ourselves to see what we can do better, And we need to expect more from those in charge. We can't accept their lies, name calling, finger pointing. And I don't care what side of the aisle they sit on, we need to expect better. And it's not just in the political arena. I think that's where it starts, because I think so much of the divide is brought on by political discourse. But even, religious leaders, I think they need to step up at this time and be more willing to speak openly about how they see the situation, putting it in a different type of context. I searched for someone to do that. I ended up with a priest out of Boston that I find one of the best, most balanced social commentators that I have encountered since the pandemic. So I regularly listen to what he has to say. And I would encourage you to do the same. Look for the helpers, look for the people who are demonstrating balanced leadership, taking ownership in solving problems, and not resorting to name calling, finger pointing, saying, oh, it's someone else to blame. No, we've all helped get us in this situation. We can all help get us out of it. But the leaders, the political leaders, I think have a particular responsibility here that we must hold them to. Thank you so much. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing. Professor R.J. Placone on communication excellence. Thank you.